But let's go now to Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. We're joined by TRT World's John Brain. John, interesting, we've been hearing from President Hollande in the last sort of half an hour or so, and interesting comments from him, essentially saying that there is a possibility that this plane could have crashed now. What is the reaction there in Paris?
Well, understandably, it's one of concern. In fact, some of the relatives have been seen here clearly in tears. A crisis centre has been set up just a short distance from where I'm speaking to you now. And some of those relatives will be going to Cairo this afternoon. They've been offered seats on an Egypt air flight. But there is bafflement about how a plane with an excellent safety record, with an experienced pilot at the controls, in good weather, and leaving from an airport where there's been heightened security since the attacks in Paris in November, how it could have come to this. Mr. Hollande saying nothing has been ruled out at this stage. Clearly, the big concern is whether there's been any form of terrorist attack. But the French have said that they'll help with any search. So French authorities are on standby now to fly out to the Aegean as this drama unfolds. But obviously a very troubling time here in Paris.
I mean, it's difficult to speculate at this point whether it could be any sort of terrorist-related incident. But the finger would then point to Charles de Gaulle Airport if that is the case. What is the airport's safety record? I mean, were there any questions at all about how safe the airport is?
Well, Charles de Gaulle is, like most major European airports, is considered as safe as it's possible to make an airport where members of the public obviously are passing through in large numbers at all times of the day. So, as I say, security in the city as a whole has been on a much heightened state since the attacks here in Paris. But it's very difficult to make any area foolproof. And of course, we've been hearing in recent months about safety lapses at various airports. And Charles de Gaulle, of course, is as vulnerable as any other airport in the developed world. But that will, of course, be the question of huge concern is if it has been a terrorist attack. And of course, we don't know that it has at this stage. How did a device get onto that plane? That will be something obviously scrutinised. Early days, though, at this stage, they're still trying to find out what's happened to that plane and the reason for its apparent demise.
John, again, difficult to avoid speculating. I've been just reading before I came on air that a weak point was identified in terms of this airport, that a large number of the flight side workers were coming from high immigrant areas in Paris, in the Paris suburbs. I believe there was actually a security review of this particular airport in regards to that.
Sorry, could you repeat that question, please? I didn't hear that.
John, this might put you on the spot, but I was reading that there was actually a security review of this particular airport in light of the number of immigrant workers that were working at that airport. And that potentially could have been susceptible to some form of radicalization.
Yes, well, this was all part of this heightened security, as I was saying, that in light of the Paris attacks, every area of every potentially vulnerable area in France has been closely examined. And of course, the airports are very much at the forefront of that. And as I say, it's impossible to make any airport completely foolproof because, of course, you've got hundreds of thousands of people using them on a daily basis. But of course, these are questions that will be asked again, and these aspects will be revisited once they have a clearer idea of what's happened to that flight. At the moment, though, of course, the priority is getting more information and looking after the relatives who are waiting here so anxiously for news.
OK, John, good to speak to you. John Brain there in Paris for us.